All right, writers. So usually at the beginning of Writers Workshop, step out of this for a second, we kind of have a connection to something we've done yesterday, which I've not had you yesterday. So earlier in this unit, we've talked about zooming in to write a tiny seed story and not all about a giant watermelon topic. So that means instead of writing about my giant watermelon topic of my entire trip to Scotland, which was 3 weeks long, I'm going to talk to you today about my tiny seed story, which was getting locked in a national monument. Okay, so zooming in on a small amount of time, that took about 2 hours versus my whole 3 weeks. I can't tackle that, that would be a chapter book. Okay? All right. So what I want to teach you today is that a lot of times people, kids especially, and some people that just don't have very linear brains and kind of think all over the place, have trouble keeping their story going in a sequence. Okay? So one strategy we can use to kind of help plan our story is to make a timeline. So we want to use a timeline to plan and organize our story. So, I lost my pen. There we go. So I'm going to tell you a story today, and I'm going to do a timeline to kind of plan it out. And this is a little bit of a, not complicated, but it has a lot of parts. So, and really, in all fairness, I am really bad at this. I'm not good at telling stories in sequence. And I get to the end, and then there was a detail that I should have given you at the beginning, and I forgot about it. So this does help me to plan. All right, so let's give my...
And that's what revision is.
Yes.
And actual details.
So here's my timeline.
Sorry, can I interrupt for just a minute?
Please.
And the beauty of doing the timeline in the planning and rehearsal stage is when kids have spent a lot of time writing, they've got 2 pages, and then you've said, oh, it's watermelon, it's not tiny seed. If they've only done it on their timeline, they have, kids get tired and they've written that, and then they're like, now you want me to cut some of it out, and it's personal. So the beauty of this is that they can kind of plan it ahead of time before they invest all that time and effort into the actual writing of the story.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so a little bit of background knowledge on this. The Scott Monument in Edinburgh, has anyone been there? No, it's in Edinburgh? Okay. So there's this giant Gothic tower right in the middle of the square. It's like 200 feet tall. This is my little pamphlet that I got there. And I got locked in there. Yes, I got locked in there. So I'm going to tell you about that. This is a picture of me and my travel partner, Jillian. And she's down here, and then this is the Scott Monument way in the background. It's like all black and scary because of all the smoke from the 1800s that soaked into the sandstone. So we had kind of passed this all week, and we were like, we need to go and climb that at some point. So I'm going to kind of start my story. There. So we kind of seen the tower and talked about climbing it. Your kids are never ever this quiet, I guarantee.
We know.
Okay, and so then finally one day, it was about 5 o'clock, and all the shops were kind of closing, and the Scott Monument didn't close till 6, so it seemed like a good time. We're like, oh, we got an hour, we're going to go climb it. So it's 5 o'clock, and we, the shops are closing, and we decide to go to the monument. Go to Scott Monument. Okay, so we pay the guy and we head on up, and it's quite large. In this first area, it's an enclosed spiral staircase. It's probably about 5 stories tall. This is a regular sized doorway way down here, and this is how big the thing is. So it's not small. It's not small. So climbing up, we kind of go and climb up. And then there's plaques and stuff you can read kind of on your way, so we kind of read those. And then finally we make it to the top, and we hear an announcement that they're closing. And I'm really annoyed because I'm like, you're closing early. If I would have known that, I would have waited to go on another day. So we're at the top and we hear the announcement that they're closing. Okay, so this is actually, I didn't know at this point how important this picture would be. But here I am, I'm hard to see even, it's not even a good picture, but this is me at the top, looking out over. We took a cute couple of pictures because we heard that announcement and we start heading down. So we head down. But this thing is like 15 stories tall. I mean, it's not like you get down like immediately. So by the time we get to this last leg, and we're in this spiral staircase, and it's totally enclosed, except for like up at the top, like kind of some of those like slits that like let in some light, and they've turned off the power. So last staircase, no lights. Okay, I need to extend my timeline here. I told you it's kind of a big story. Okay, so I'm a little nervous at this point. I'm kind of ahead of Jillian, and I'm feeling down that wall, down that staircase. And at this point, it's completely pitch black because the nearest, tiny slits that I don't know, supposed to shoot arrows out of. I don't even know what those are for. But I get to the bottom, and there is a giant wooden, closed, locked door. So, door is locked. Okay, so now at this point, I'm a little panicking. I don't really know what to do. So I yell at Jillian, like, what the issue is, and we, decide that we're going to call 999, which is 911, and luckily we knew that. So because our only other option was, like, go back up to the first landing that's, like, 5 stories up and yell at people. What are they going to do? Call 999? I don't know. So we call 999, and first, of course, they ask if this is a joke, which we assure them that it is not a joke. We are just 2 very scared American girls locked in the National Monument.
Did they tell you to let down your golden hair?
Well, actually, Jillian, she is Scottish, so I'm like, use your Scottish accent because she can totally talk in either. I'm like, use your Scottish accent because they're totally not going to take me seriously. You've got to call. I made her call. I didn't call. So anyway, they say wait by the door in the pitch black, which we really, really appreciate, and they say wait. And they're like, we're going to find somebody to come let you out. And we hear the phone, like right outside that door was a little ticket booth, and we hear that phone ringing. and ringing, and ringing, and ringing, and I'm like, oh my, we're going to have to sleep here because this is the only number they have. Like, there's a bench up there somewhere. I guess we're going to have to just, snuggle to keep warm. I don't know. I've got a half a can of Pringles. We'll make it through. Okay, so here, phone ringing. Now, I don't know exactly how long this really took. Probably every time I tell it, it gets longer. But, somewhere around, 2 hours, we were sitting there in the black. We were kind of using the light of our cell phone, but not too much because we didn't want to, run out the battery, and then we'd really be in trouble. So finally, a kid comes. He was probably 18. I don't know who he was. Probably had, a little summer job there. He comes, and he unlocks the door for us. We tell him thank you so much, and we sprint to the train station because the last train to our sister's house was leaving, and we knew we had to just get there. All right, so kid comes, thank him, and then we run to the train. Okay. Now, do you see how I was taking all the events and trying to put them in order to organize my thoughts before I write? This is a really good way to rehearse. It's one of the parts of the writing process is rehearsing before you draft, and that just kind of gets you ready, gets your brain kind of wrapped around your story. Yes, okay, so writers, I would like you to grab a piece of paper. I'm sure this has inspired some sort of locked in somewhere or missed a train or some sort of frightening story for you to write. And I want you to give this a try. I want you to think through your story, write little bullets on your timeline. And if you make a mistake and you miss something, this is the perfect time to just fill it back in wherever it goes. I'm going to give you a few minutes to do that. We're going to come around and check on you. Go ahead. Okay, writers, finish up your thought or your bullet. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Okay, on a side note, as a talking to you as a teacher to parent right now, the reason we decided we chose this lesson was because we thought it didn't require a whole lot of background. And we thought about doing like just a generating ideas lesson, but we really wanted you to have like a specific like strategy. So that's why we chose this particular lesson. And we noticed that some of you kind of had a hard time getting started. That's okay. That's what your kids feel a lot of the time. So yes,
And at the
we
same
all feel
time,
that way.
with your children, we would have already taught them the lessons that would have come before this were strategies for generating an idea. So they would have, as a matter of fact, one of the
Right here, right
posters-
here. This poster right here. If you're still stuck finding an idea, right there, go to that poster, read it, and then give it a try. Okay. So while we were walking around, we saw a lot of really good things. Saw people zooming in, not trying to write about too much. You were really very specific with your bullets. They look really good. So now today and every day when you are writing, if it helps you to organize and plan out your writing using a timeline, do it. Okay? So now it's about to start our writing time. So I'm going to send you off to write. And my kids, when I was talking to them about this today, they were like, Mrs. Moreland, what are you going to do if they're talking instead of writing? And they're like, you should take $1 from them because we have like a class currency. I was like, yeah, I should take $1 from them. So if you're choosing to chat, have your ones ready. Okay, so right now you're going to get writing your story. If you finish your timeline, if you feel like you need to do that, get writing if you're ready to do that. So you're the boss of your own writing. You do what you feel you need to do. We're going to come around and we're going to talk to you. And
just a reminder that now each bullet then, like you write that small moment. So, because oftentimes kids feel like they've written their timeline and that is the story. But now you want to take each bullet and expand that and storytell it. So.
really go back into it, relive the memory, describe it as it's happening. All right, ready?
Off you go, Rick.